I wonder, though, if because of all these reasons, people are giving Pirlo a bit of a pass. I just want to know if this was another manager, let's say this was Sarri last year, and the start was like this. Could you imagine the difference in tone in the Italian media? And I get that you bring in Sarri for very different reasons and Pirlo's a new manager. He's never managed before, but I think everyone's dying for him to succeed. And right now he's getting a bit of a pass, whether it be from the Italian media or journalists.
No, I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's getting a pass. But I think a lot of the times, when we're sitting there saying, poor Antonio Conte, he's Mr. Hakimi for the vital Champions League crash. Of course, he's only going to get a draw. No, this is not fair. I mean, the guy didn't have any preseason, He's been basically forced to start the season without a lot of his, with Ronaldo, without Giorgio Chiellini available all the time, without De Ligt. There's several people there that have paid a lot of money for a vital experience. I do think you're right, and obviously he's experimenting and it is going a little bit crazy, but he's still at least won in the Champions League. At least there was something to see against Sampdoria. There is something that makes me think, okay, let's hold out and see. Secondly, Agnelli is very good when it comes to the way that he talks to coaches. I mean, I don't know if he's got it right on this occasion, but he definitely saw something in Andrea Pirlo. And he said to him, all right, I can't expect a guy to come in and all of a sudden he'd be treated like Sarri, who had won the Europa League, who'd done amazing work with Napoli, comes in with absolutely different expectations because he's been doing this job for so many years. Andrea Pirlo was there to do the under-23, so you have to grant him more time because you are saying, I'm taking a bet on you. The decision to take a bet on a man when there is Cristiano Ronaldo on the team and you're supposed to be winning the Champions League is another matter, but that's for management to answer. When it comes to Andrea Pirlo, he can only do the best he can. And this is the guy who just handed in his dissertation last week.
No, I agree. And yeah, let's talk about this thesis, right? Because everyone's fawning over this thesis. Like, oh, look at what Pirlo said about movement and the positions. I have no life, so I read all the theses that I can get my hands on. And a lot of the managers over the last 10 years, you read their theses and you think that there's the second coming of Pep Guardiola. I mean, you read that'll be what he wrote and your mind would explode. But now it's Pirlo and it's like, oh my goodness, look at it. The movement between the center back and the defender. And it's like everyone's going nuts about this thesis. Every manager writes a pretty damn good thesis. That's why they're in that position. Yeah, but because it's Pirlo and because everyone wants him to succeed, it's like this huge deal. It's trending on Twitter. It's like, oh, Pirlo's thesis is out. And people think that they have like a copy of like this golden booklet from a prehistoric ages. It's a thesis like many other theses, which are very interesting and they're great. But it's just the way that he was handled by the media. And I totally understand it. I want Pirlo to succeed. I think he will. We have to give him time, but it's, Mina, you mentioned it. It's Cristiano Ronaldo being there that doesn't really afford him the time to start tinkering and experimenting. When you have this deadline of Ronaldo on your team and you have this obsession with winning the Champions League, and right now we have no idea what Juve's best formation is, what Juve's best starting 11 is. I mean, these are serious questions that Juve's challengers have all but pretty much figured out that are going to meet Juve in the final, assuming Juve get there. And right now, I mean, it's not looking great.
Yeah, I haven't chipped in my 2 cents on this yet. So I actually sort of agree with both positions, which is that yes, Andrea Pirlo has been given a very soft ride. I think that if it was a different manager, an identical situation, I think they would be getting a tougher time. I also think from where I'm sitting, it's still not really Andrea Pirlo's fault. It's the same decision that it was at the beginning of the season, which is, why do you give an inexperienced manager this squad and ask them to be the guy who succeeds in this very small window of winning the Champions League? It is a very big ask. So, not every question is about Antonio Conte, Mina. We can look at Pirlo aside from Conte without having to frame him against Conte's treatment. I think he is being given an easier ride. I think if it was another manager with his background, with no wins, one win in games actually played in Serie A at this point, yes, they would be asking questions about him. They're not, because it's Pirlo. That's my opinion.
Okay, I do think that Allegri just started his second season rather poorly and everyone had lots of questions about it. I think Gasperini lost his first 5 games and everyone's like, yeah, but you've got to stick with it because he's got this tactical idea that will just...
Gasperini was out on his ear at Inter when he got a job like this with a lot more experience behind him.
Everyone was out on their ear in Inter. Stefano Pioli was thrown away. Frank Jabot had about 3 minutes, But when it comes to really having a tactical plan and an idea, the thing is, Juventus went into this knowing very well what was asked of them. I think the questions that we should be asking is why they made this decision. I don't think it's the fact that he's been given an easy ride or that. It doesn't really matter. He got the job and he's trying to do the best he can with very limited resources at the moment in a COVID era where
very
he hasn't
limited.
had the preseason.
His resources are still better than almost any other manager in the league.
You say this, but who's available right now? Look at the midfield right now. Look at the forward line. We're reliant on 2 people that have just arrived and supposedly supposed to embed immediately. I think that, look at Milan. They were tough to deal with. And then Zlatan Ibrahimovic changed everything. I do think that you need a Swede in your team all the time because Kulusevski is the Zlatan right now. Have you noticed also how Dybala's performance has changed when Kulusevski came on? He went from being a guy that was falling constantly to all of a sudden wonderful Dybala again when Kulusevski's on the pitch. But I do also think that, you made this decision. You made a decision in the sense that you haven't had any time to experiment with the team by going to the ICC Championship, by playing 15 different, friendlies, by going to, all the things that you usually do in preseason. And you've thrown him into the deep end, been like, right, now you have to win the Champions League. And I know that you were there to come and be the under-23 coach, but now we've decided that you're going to take over Ronaldo and co. Oh, and you won't have Ronaldo. So a lot of the time when Sarri was experimenting, he could rely on Ronaldo to score the individual goals and continue the experimentation. But Pirlo doesn't even have that luxury at the moment. He's winning against Dynamo Kiev without Ronaldo, and look at the importance he had against Roma. They went down to 10 men, but it was Ronaldo that kept them in that game. And if you don't have your star who's scoring the goals and trying to carry you through and paper over the cracks at a time when you're experimenting, it does become much harder. So in that sense, I do feel sorry for him, but I ask questions of the Juventus management that thought this was a good idea in the first place.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.